this job, in this job, can you call it a job? In this lifestyle of creating, I get lots of opportunities to travel when I'm teaching. And when I travel, I like to collect ephemera from the places that I go to. It's sort of one of those things I do. I've got so much ephemera, it's ridiculous. I either need to stop buying ephemera or I need to start using it. Probably the latter, because it's so precious to me that I never really want to use it. But anyway, recently in June, July last year, I went to New Zealand and Fiona took me around, the other Fiona, F1, I was F2, took me around and I found this beautiful, colourful New Zealand from 1840 to 1940. I'm pretty sure that's not when it was printed. I think it was printed in the 50s, but it's all about New Zealand and, you know, the steps over a century, and it's just magnificent. Look at that, look at all this. And I went and saw some of these things, which is really, really cool. We went up to the volcanic mountains and look, they found gold and all that stuff. But anyway, it's brilliant. Now, normally what I would do is I would scan all of my ephemera before I begin tearing it up, because it's a one of a kind. Like, I'm never, ever going to find this again. Ever. Ever. Oh, look at that. Isn't that magnificent? So beautiful. But I haven't scanned this one. So I'm going to do what I would never, ever do, because I haven't... Oh, I could go up and scan it, but I just couldn't be bothered, to be honest. But I love the colours in it. I think they match what I'm really aiming for on my piece of art. So I just need to find a page that I really, really love colour-wise. Oh, I like this flower here. This is just beautiful. And I mean, I'm not going to see very much of it. This is the hardest thing about layering ephemera, is that you really don't get an opportunity to see much of it. But this page here is so full of colour that I think that's the one that I'm going to use. And I'm not going to use all of it, obviously, because it's going to cover it up. But I am going to use a section of it to do my first layer on my background. And I'm really just going to use this sky bit here because I quite like those colours. I'm not going to be really particular about measuring it. I don't ever measure anything, because who's got time for that? I'm just going to eyeball it and tear it, because it gives it a bit more of a rustic look too. See, look at that. So now I don't want these straight edges, so I'm just going to go and pretend that they were torn out of a book as well. Here's the little tips and tricks. There we go. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know what? And sometimes I'll put a layer down and I'll put so much time and effort into preparing it and getting it ready, and then I don't like it and I don't use it. So that happens. That happens a lot. But you know, it goes back into that little bag, this little bag full of all my goodies. And yeah, I pick through it and I just use what I want out of it when I make a project. I've got little bags like that all over the place. I've got tins, I've got bags, I've actually just got it sitting on the shelf just randomly. There we go. Oh, that's so pretty. That's layer number 1. Easy peasy. Now, layer number 2. I want to add some colour into this. I mean, I know I've got some colour, but I want some coordinating colours. And I like to do modern with vintage. So this is quite old paper and it's an old book. And then I've got these really modern numbers that I think I did a gel press session at some point, and I used a stencil and it went back to front and I didn't like it. So you know how it does when your mind can't turn around the same way that your gel press does. So I don't want all of it, I just want a section of it, because now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of layer behind these little guys. I don't know whether I'm going to give them all a separate, their own little pedestal, or whether I'm just going to put them over, you know, my layers of what I'm doing. No, you know what? I think I'm going to give them all a little pedestal now that I've done that and I've looked at it. They all need to have their own separate little section. So this is where I always run out of room. I always make too much background stuff. I make too many layers, and then all of a sudden I've got this massive project that I had never intended to have. I think that might be a bit too pink. I'm not liking that. Not liking that one at all. So the other thing I can do is, here's some more off bits and pieces from my gel plate sections. These are just the edge bits, you know, like I might have already torn the middle and used the middle bit, and I'm just using up. Oh, I love those colours. They work really well. Right, let's get you off of there, princess. and see what we can do. See, this is why I need to go, am I making separate sections or am I not? Like, what am I doing? I just don't know. I'm just going to layer some stuff and I'm just going to see what happens. I don't know if I want that together or I want to tear it. I don't know if I want it, I think I want it thin. I think I want it thin because I just want it to just to poke through that layer. And I'll just trim those bits off a little bit later on. I think I need a little bit of yellow in here, but I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put it because it's quite a striking colour. So it's probably just needs to be a very small section of yellow. And the other thing I'm thinking is I'd really like to put some book pages behind my 3 sections just to really define them. I'm actually going to use the scissors to cut those, or at least, you know, fold them and tear them so I've got a straight line, because I do want them to be defined areas. This one here came from Dee Dee Catron, who's one of your teachers for Soul Journey. She's in Vegas in the US. And we did a bit of a ephemera exchange, which was a great idea because I sent over some ephemera from Australia for her to put into her work, and she sent me some US stuff. I got some gorgeous ephemera when I was in Paris. On the river, there's these amazing little bookshops that you can go to. I mean, they're not cheap because, you know, of course, they're suckers for tourists like me. But yeah, great little bookshops that that sell lots and lots of French books, which was fabulous. I haven't touched any of those yet. I'm too paranoid to use them. And this year in May, June, I'm going back over to Europe, and I can't wait because I'm going to go to Czechoslovakia and go to Prague and Poland. And I cannot wait to get me some Polish and Czechoslovakian ephemera. I'm going to go to London too. I know, is London ephemera any different to Australian ephemera? Because I think it's all very similar. Because, you know, we were from London descent. But hey, I'll have a look anyway, and I'll have a look and see what I can find. What size? Well, see, they're too big. Right, keep chopping them down. Yeah, so when I get there, I'm going to have a little look around and going to teach some classes. So if you're in the UK, keep a lookout. We're doing an All and Create tour. And then in Poland, I'm going to be teaching at a 13 Arts retreat, which is going to be so awesome. Get to hang out with my girls. I'm a little bit spoiled because that's like 2 years in a row now I've been over. See, it's still too big. And I'm really, I don't know what we're doing in Czechoslovakia. I'm just glad we're going, to be honest. I just want to go see Prague. And I'm going to hang out in Germany with Olga, which could be disastrous. You never know what she might do. Oh, I love the girl. Love it a bit. There we go. That's a good size. So let's make them all that size. And then that'll be, well, it's a bit of a control for me, you know, like, I know that I like to say I love random stuff, but within the randomness there is a little bit of organisation. It's my OCD coming out. I don't really have OCD. You know how people just laugh about the fact that, you know, you have all these funny little things that are, I mean, Jesus, if I really had it, you'd know. There we go. So see how I can I'm just eyeballing them. I don't measure anything. I'm a shocker. But I like that. That's the random part of me. So the controlled part is, you know, making sure they're all the same size-ish, but the random part is the ripping. I know it does people's head in when you rip up old books, but they're not being used. They're just being, you know, stored on shelves and nobody's reading them or doing anything with them. At least this way they're actually being used for a purpose. So you're not going to see very much of it, but you start to get, I can't handle the words being upside down. You start getting that layered effect of all the pieces coming together. So you can barely see this little piece behind, but it is there. It is there. Believe me, it is there. And we haven't even done any stenciling yet. We're going to do that. And then when you layer, actually I think she'll be quite nice on there. When you layer up your little people, you start to see it all coming together. We're going to have to move that one over there. Now, I haven't glued any of this down for 2 reasons. One, I'm the biggest procrastinator in the world. You know, I'm a hypocrite because I say to people in my classes, oh, for heaven's sakes, just glue it down. But I've already gone and thought about it and planned the class. I know exactly where it's going to be going. Whereas here, I'm still not sold on the idea that I've got them all in the right place. However, that's looking pretty cool. That is looking pretty cool. So what I'll do is I'll just give them a tiny little dot of glue. And then that way, if I want to move them around, then I can. So there's no panicking. There's no need to panic. Don't panic, Mr. Mannering. Right, so I went away and I sewed around these little dudes. And now they look frame-ish. They're kind of framed. Do you know what? I actually don't want that bit in the back. After all me ripping it up and everything, I've changed my mind because I really love the colour of that book cover. That's really cool. And then when I do my stenciling behind it, it's going to really come out. Excellent. I think we're onto something here. Okay, so the other thing that I've decided I'm going to do is pop a little bit of some eco-dyed material, because I took that other piece away. So I'm now going to stick some material behind it to give it just that last little layer. But before we do all this, although what I'll do is I'll just make the last one, because I made two of them. I'll make this one here. Just put a little snip in it, just enough so that I can get the edge and tear it. Beautiful, love that sound. Rip. So they can just go there like that. I reckon I'll just stick them down with some double-sided tape. It's the best way to do it. And pop. Get these little threads out the way. I like the threads. I don't want to actually get rid of them because I think they look really cool. Probably should use my scissors. And stick this first one down and we'll just see what it looks like. What I love about using the double-sided tape, especially on material, is that if it doesn't work, it's really, oh god, the paper's a bit fragile. If it doesn't work, it's really quite easy to remove it. This one's a bit crunched up, so I need to sort of stretch it out. When I stick it down, I don't care if it's not straight. Again, I'm just eyeballing it like that. See, being material, double-sided tape, I can kind of move it around. Oops, move that bit too. And then, yeah, so it starts to come together. Looky chooky. Now, I'll do these couple. Bit of tape. Oh, I've got some bits of doily that I've chopped up as well. Just kind of popped into the frame there when it got stuck in my hand. I reckon I might be able to incorporate that in somehow. I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of it. I'm still waiting for my irresistibles to dry. I've popped them outside now in the sun because I'm thinking that'll help speed up the process. Weighted it down with my water container, so we'll just see. I'm not sure that the gold of the irresistibles is actually going to match what I'm doing now. Which way up do I want this one? This way. And so now I might just do that good old trick where, you know, when you don't like something, you just cover it up with gesso. So we'll see how that turns out. But still need to do some stenciling on this background piece here. Whoops, coordination plus. You can tell that I'm just so talented. There we go. So that's the last one there. They're not all the same size. I mean, they're roughly the same size, but close enough is good enough, hey? And that's the last one on there. Again, I'll just stretch that one out a little bit so we can still see the edges. And now it's really starting to come together. I've got the TCW stencil. Very, very cool. I love these marks. And I'm just going to use some gesso and a makeup sponge. And I'll just work that into the sponge a bit so I don't get any glumpy bits. I really love these spots here and these stripes, so I'm going to incorporate those. I might do the stripes first, kind of half on, half off, and just do a little bit of sponging, see how that comes out. Oh yeah, that's cool. That is very cool. Let's do the little dots, see what they come out like. I mean, you're not going to see much of it because, you know, by the time I put the little bits over the top, but hey, starting to get there. I'll do a little bit of dotty down the bottom, get myself a little bit more of the gesso. I like using gesso instead of white acrylic paint because it's slightly translucent, so when it dries you can still see a little bit of that colour coming through. We'll do a few more of these little marks on the side here. This stencil's amazing. Look at all the things you can do with it. Put some more over here. I mean, it doesn't really matter what you do because most of it's going to be covered up anyway. That is so cool. Looky dooky. Oh, I'm just going to go a bit nuts with it, I think. I like to keep my lines going all one way, so I wouldn't actually turn it around and go this way. I would just keep them over here. I don't mind if I go over the top of some of it. See, again with the gesso, how it kind of, you know, does that transparent layer. I could add some colour from the dilutions in this, but I'm going to do that on the top. I'm going to make sure that I add some of the colour. I'm going to try this little one here. That's a cool little pattern. Yeah, look at that. Let's do it on this side. Oh, I might do it that way. It's like little Done. No more. That's perfect. So then I can layer these guys over the top. And like I said, you can't really see very much of that behind, but it does give it just that another added layer. Look at that. Oh, you know what I could do? I could do a little bit of it over the top. Let's do this really fine one and see how that looks. Oh yeah, ties it all together. We'll do some stripes on this one. Again with the gesso, it's because I'm, you know, starting to get to the end of my sponge, it's quite translucent. Which one should I do over here? Because this black, whatever I put on that, is going to really stand out. Let's go with the This is a very cool stencil. I like it. I like it a lot. Yep, happy with that. Right, so now we're going to build up a little bit more. I've put the wings, stuck them onto my little people here, and now I've just got to work out exactly where they're going to sit. Like who's going to take which position. And remember I found these little petals and I was looking at them before and I'm like, wow, they look really cool. They're like leaves, they're like wings. So I'm going to extend the wings on the people that I've chosen, the little paper dolls, and I'm going to glue some of these petals behind their wings. So my glue, I'm using some quick dry adhesive. And I use the quick dry adhesive because, well, it dries quickly. It is a bit tricky to get out of the tube though. I've got to massage it and work it out. And when I put these little dudes, oh come on glue, you can do it. Oh, it helps if I open it, doesn't it? Duh. How many times have I, yeah, look, now it's coming out like there's got no tomorrow. Now which way do I want these? That way I reckon. So if I put one there, I'm just working upside down on them so I can sort of see where they're going to go. One like that, one like that. When I turn it over, oh, look at that. Look at that. That is very, very cool. Right, let's do the other girls. Like I said, I'm not really sure where they're going to be positioned yet, and I think that I'll probably build them up a little bit so they sit up off the piece, you know, give them a bit of dimension. Well, that's a nice one. We'll use that one. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that. And the colours are just all coming together. Last one. Put some Dob Dob glue. That one's very pretty. It's got some great colours in this rose. I mean, I like to use a lot of natural elements in my art. I don't know how long it lasts. I've got some pieces that have been hanging up for 2 or 3 years that are fine. But she just seems a little bit too big, doesn't she? We've got to make sure we put her in the right spot. Yeah, but a lot of them are still going fine. So, yeah, she seems to be a little over the top. But that's okay, I like her there. I like this combination works because then I can still see, because he's a bit skinnier, because he doesn't have a big woofy dress on, I can still see some of the colours come out behind him. Whereas this one here, she pretty much covers up the whole thing, doesn't she? I wonder if I can trim her dress. There's a thought. Would that look dorky if I did that? I don't know. Let's give it a go. I've got scissors. Let's do it. So if we just follow the line of her dress so we keep the same shape-ish, because this could be disastrous. There, go just ship in there with her arm. Oh, see, that's better already. And then I'll do the other side as well. Just make sure that I don't lose the whole pattern of the paper doll too much. Yeah, that's better. See, she was just a little bit too buffy. Probably do a little bit here. And then I'll grab another sponge, and I reckon I'm just going to go around the outside with them, with a little bit of the black ink. That should work. Dab, dab, dab again. This is a pretty new ink pad, this one, so it soaks up the ink really, really well. We'll go around her little wings. I just love to give them that little extra bit of oomph and make them stand out. And I find that the black edging does that. And because it's archival ink, it's not going to go anywhere once it's dry. There you are, she stands out a bit better now. We'll do this one here. And it gets rid of those little white edges, you know, that are on the edge, obviously, because they're edges. It's a bit tricky, isn't it? You know, that's a bit better. I'm not being very particular. If I get a little bit on them, it doesn't matter. I just really, oh, that sticky glue, it goes everywhere. That's the only thing about the self-drying. Yeah, right. The quick-drying glue is that it does get a bit stringy. You could use a hot glue gun if you wanted to, or you could use any glue you've got, really. Again, you could use double-sided tape, just whatever you've got handy, whatever works for you. I'm a bit of a Helmar freak. I like the Helmars because I use a lot of textiles, lots of material, and so that makes sure when I use the Helmar glue that it sticks to the material. There we go. So my irresistibles are almost dry, and I quite like how the colours all come together. This little bit of yellow here has really brought the yellow out in the irresistibles. It's kind of a gold colour. Can't quite read what it says. What does it say? Nope. Don't have my glasses on. No idea. Gold. There you go. It says it's gold. So it's got that appearance with the yellow and the little eyelets down the bottom, but it's a bit too bright for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some gesso. So remember I said that if there's something that you don't quite like, you can just cover it up. Now I don't want to cover it all up, so gesso is a really good option because again it's fairly translucent, it's not too opaque, but we can just make it a bit subtler by adding some over the top. Look how all of a sudden that looks a little bit lighter. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. And you still get that awesome texture from the irresistibles underneath. And you've still got a little bit of yellow, a little bit of the goldness coming through. Oh, look at that texture. That looks really good. Let's go like that around the edges. I might put quite a bit of the white right on the edge so it frames it. So I'll just add some more to my sponge. I just use a makeup sponge. Buy them in a pack of, I don't know, 12 or something. There we go. And we'll just do those edges quite quickly around here. I'm going to sew this as well. I'm going to go away in a minute and I'm going to chuck it under my sewing machine, and I'm going to add some more texture to it with some sewing. You could hand sew. I just don't have the patience for hand sewing, so I just whop it under my machine. There we go. If I remove some of the gesso off the top, you can see a bit of the yellow still coming through. It's just a bit of experimenting. I'll use my finger, that'll work. Look at that. So it is pretty dry. I don't think that bit there is. I have to be careful with that bit. Yeah, I'm liking that. That looks good. So pop my people back over the top. Yep. Let's add a bit of colour in the background. And I'm thinking the pesto. So I want to do a dry brush. Helps if I've got a dry brush. Let me see what I've got in my little brush roll here. I always have this handy just in case, because I'm never organised. Never. And see what I've got in here. Oh yeah, that one will work, that nice big one there. And I'll do a bit of dry brushing. We won't add any water to it. We'll just whisk over the top. So I'm probably going to need something. I'll use my plastic bag. Probably should use palette, but I don't have one. And pick up a bit of the paint on the brush. But I just need to spread it around so it gets into the bristles. I don't know how many times I destroy brushes doing this. I don't spend a lot of money on my brushes. I find that if I spend too much on them, that I just get sad when I have to throw them out because I've forgotten to wash them properly. I know you can buy brush cleaner and stuff, but you know, that's too much effort. So I just want to add a little bit of colour to the background here, not too much. I'm really just picking up the grains of the material more than anything. Try and make it a bit more random so I don't get too many brush strokes. I want it a bit darker around the outside, around the edges, because I'm going to put the green frame. You can see it's starting to pick up some of the irresistibles here. So if I do that, there we go, we can really frame this piece. Nice job. And who said pesto wasn't their colour? Not me. Well, it kind of isn't really my colour, but I'm making my colour. I like it. It looks really good. So that's the outside done. If I want to, I can come back again with a bit of gesso and lighten it up if I feel that it's a bit too green. Yep, it's a bit too green. So let's do that. So then we'll go over the top again with the gesso. Make sure you work it into the sponge really well so you don't get your gloopy bits. And we just lightly brush over the top. Look at that. This might actually work with the brush too. Oh, I'm liking that motley look. That's coming up really well. So you don't never quite know unless you give it a go. You just don't know what you're going to get. A little bit more. Mush, mush, mush. Make sure you work it in. And dab, dab, dab. I love paint on material. It's just got such a, I don't know, organic look about it. I actually quite like these little white dots that are coming out from my sponge too. I don't want the hard edges, so that's why I'm working it so hard, because I don't want, square bits like that. So if I just keep tapping over the top constantly, it all eventually blends in together and it doesn't look like I've used a makeup sponge. Oh, that looks really good. That's come up really well. The more layers you put on it, then the better it's going to be. And you could just keep going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards between the green and the white as much as you like until you're happy with the colour that you've got on the background. Tell you what's good for your forearm too. Bit of hard work there. Yeah, look at that. Okay, I'm going to take it away and I'm going to sew it and I'll bring it back and I'll show you. So there you go. All I've done is got my machine and done some crazy stitching around the outside to create a border, and it actually went really well. The material has soaked up the irresistibles, but it's dry and the machine went through it, no problems whatsoever. I didn't even break a needle. How cool is that? So now you can see how it's all starting to come together. I think I'm going to actually turn this into a wall hanging. I'm kind of into that. Now I just need to remove my little pieces here because I want to add some danglies on the bottom. And for my danglies I have like a whole box of materials, and I've got some ribbons. I picked them up. Old, it says they're old, so I was kind of attracted to that for a couple of dollars in a second-hand store. And the colours, like this green in particular, is perfect, just perfect. You can use some cotton. I might shred some doilies. I'll get a whole heap of stuff ready and then we'll start threading. So I've got a large selection here now of twines and ribbons and all that sort of stuff. So I've got some shredded pieces of eco-dyed material. I've got the ribbon that I chose out before, and I've kind of cut thinner strips and I've left a couple of them thicker. I've got some beautiful soft sari sort of ribbon. I've got pieces of doily. I've got some tiny twine, which is just really, really skinny coloured twine. It's just gorgeous. I've got some baling twine, which is, in the old days, we used to use it to wrap around the hay stacks. Of course, the machines do it now and they wrap them in Glad wrap pretty much. And then I found this other ribbon, but it's not quite the right colour because like the two greens together, actually no, it might work. But I wanted some of the darker colours in here as well, like, you know, of the pomegranate I've got the orange because I got the orange in the tiny twine, but I didn't get any of the pomegranate, and I didn't really get much in the way of the pesto. So what I'm going to do is paint a little bit of this ribbon and see how it goes. So if I just cut it in half, get my paintbrush, again, not prepared, I'll just pop down a little wipe so it soaks up most of the paint. And we'll give them a bit of colour and see how they turn out. I know that normally when you paint material, it tends to go quite stiff. So we'll see if that happens. And if it does, well, it'll just be a little bit trickier to get through the holes, won't it? So there we go, there's one side. I'm not doing it perfectly, I'm just giving it actually I only need to do one side because it's such a soft little piece of ribbon. But I am making sure that I'm doing the whole piece so that we don't see any of that blue coming through. That's a much better colour now. And we'll do the same again with the pomegranate. So we've got a bit of that pomegranate colour coming through too. Just got to clean my paintbrush. It's one of the biggest mistakes I make when I do a project is I often don't clean my brush, and then I'm like, I get baby brown, which is, you know, never a pretty colour. I get that colour, see? Well, that's a bit of green now, but by the time I put the pomegranate in there, you'll know what I mean. So, oh God, that colour's amazing. Every time I put it on my brush or my work or whatever, I'm just like, yeah, look. I would have normally painted white ribbon, but I couldn't find any. So that's why I found the lightest colour I could, and I don't mind that it's green. Oh, look at that, soaked straight through. Because if the green shows through, it's still going to match okay. Darn. So we just let them dry a little bit before we try and tie them on. And yeah, we'll go from there.